Wind from the Hudson slipped through rows of old elms, lining the gravel drive into Havermill, the white limestone estate of the Harringtons. On the steep roof, a tarnished bell tower caught the moonlight in flickers. That night, late October, the rain had just left New York. The sky peeled open in thin, torn strips of cloud like black tape on glass. A black SUV stopped at the front steps. The driver hurried around and opened the rear door. Raymond Harrington, 78, stepped out with a cane, a tall, lean figure still carrying the ramrod poise of a man who'd negotiated all his life with his eyes and with silence. He turned and offered a hand. A broad-shouldered kid with close-cropped brown hair and a worn backpack climbed down. The porch light washed over a face still young, blue eyes hard to read. "Welcome home," Raymond said quietly. "From tonight on, this is your home." The young man nodded. "Yes, sir. Dad." The word snagged on his tongue. "Dad," like a brand-new key that had not learned the lock. The housekeeper, Eunice, cracked the door and brought a coat for her employer. Inside, the living room glowed with a working fireplace, the smell of burning oak mixing with bourbon and crystal. Portraits swept the walls, oils of Harringtons over a century, men in starched collars, women with bare shoulders pinned with jewels. 100 years walked the room in polished shoes. Raymond paused beneath the largest portrait, the founding patriarch, beside a scale model of a steel ship. The shipyard that had made the fortune before it became Havermill Capital, an investment empire. He looked at the young man. "Gabe," he said, "your name is Gabriel Mora Harrington. From tonight." The kid's lips moved. "I? No. Tomorrow the whole family comes home. We will talk by the fire," Raymond said, firm as a contract, and laid a trembling hand on Gabe's shoulder. Beyond the window, the Hudson slid black as a belt of ice in the moonlight, rolling its secrets down in the silted dark. By noon the next day, the sky turned glass blue. The gardener had pitched a white canopy on the lawn in case of rain, but the sun poured down smooth and yellow as satin. Thomas Harrington, Tom Raymond's eldest, stood by a Porsche, frowning at open oysters on crushed ice. 50, gray at the temples, iron jaw, he was an old-school Wall Street cutout, perfectly fitted suit, a Patek on his wrist, a smile that showed just half his teeth. Beside him, Julia, his wife, carried her shoulders straight as ridge tiles, neat in a midnight blue dress. Nora Harrington Kapoor, the daughter, arrived next, arms full of sunflowers. 47, dark bob, bright brown eyes, sweater and cuffed jeans. Raj, her husband, an Indian-American cardiologist, walked with their daughter Anya, 19. Nora's clan always smiled easier, but in Harrington gatherings, a fixed distance lived in the air like mortar lines inside a wall. Lucas, Tom's son, 21 and lanky, hands stuffed in jacket pockets, stepped onto the grass with his sister, Maddie, 17. Lucas studied history at Columbia. Maddie drew. The only two present who did not check a watch. When Raymond appeared, a young stranger at his side, sound itself seemed to shorten a beat. "My youngest," Raymond announced, the kind of voice that did not wait for permission. "Gabriel." Eyes traveled, touching each face, Tom stunned as if slapped, Julia swallowing hard. Nora's eyes flared open, then softened, gaze dropping to Raj as if searching for the ground. Anya smiled out of reflexive politeness. Lucas frowned. Maddie tilted her head, as if a black and white character had stepped out of a comic strip. Gabe lifted a hand. I am Gabe. I know this is a surprise. Hello, everyone." A filament, thin, quiet, like a hair across a lash. Then Tom laughed, the seasoned laugh of someone who never forgot where he sat on the board. "A surprise? Sure is," he said, savoring each word. "Nice to meet you, Gabriel. Dad calls you his son. So what do I call you now, uncle, or baby brother?" "Tom," Nora murmured, her look the same one that, since childhood, had reined him in when he pushed too far. Tom flicked his hand. Raymond leaned his cane against a chair. "We will eat first. Talk after." Lunch came with all the cutlery and smiles required. But along the white table lines, in wineglass reflections, you could see the knives had already scraped. The who, where, when, and why lined up in every head, waiting for a fuse. After dessert, Raymond coughed and set down his glass. With the practiced gaze that calmed rooms, he began. "We are going to say things that should have been said long ago," he said. 3 months back, I found a woman I once loved. Deanna Mora. I did not act like a decent man. This young man is my child. I learned this late. Late does not make it less true. Tom's jaw squared. Proof. Raymond stayed serene. Until the family lawyer, Vega, finishes the papers. Remember who sat you at this table the first time? This family was not built on proof. It was built on promises. Nora's hand floated to her throat. She exhaled. Raj offered Gabe a friendly smile. Lucas propped his jaw in his palm. Maddie studied the tablecloth stripes. And, Raymond added, I am amending my will. A sparrow somewhere winged down into the silence. 2 days later, Marisol Vega arrived at Havermill. 35, Puerto Rican, tall and trim, speaking like a contract, simple, exact, with no waste signals. She would counseled Havermill Capital since Ray's first heart scare. Manhattan's legal crowd knew her for fuse clauses, harmless-looking language that could blow up an estate plan if someone tugged wrong. First, Vega said in the wood-paneled conference room, I confirm Mr. Harrington signed a codicil recognizing Mr. Gabriel as a lawful heir if and when DNA verifies paternity. Tom's voice rasped. If and when, so nothing's real yet, right? Vega tipped her head. We can petition the court for compelled testing if you like. But there is another clause worth reading closely. She slid over a page. An inter rem clause? No contest. Quote, any heir who sues to disqualify another loses their own conditional share. That is enforceable, Nora asked. New York courts generally respect it, Vega said. Unless there is clear fraud. Also, most of Mr. Harrington's wealth, Havermill Capital Equity, is in a Delaware trust. I am a co-trustee, along with an independent. The trust has a solidarity provision. To disperse to any heir, at least 2 of the 3 children must sign. There are now 3. You are turning my house into a parliament, Tom barked a dry laugh. No, Vega replied evenly. Mr. Harrington is doing what he always has, forcing people to sit at the same table. Gabe sat quiet, fingers laced. The leather chair was so soft, one good exhale would slide him down. Lucas glanced at him, curiosity braided with sympathy. Raymond tapped for tea. Gabe will stay here for a while. He will learn Havermill first from Nora, then from Tom. I want him to know who we are. Tom smirked. Who we are simple folk, blood and signatures. The boys got a little blood, no signatures. Welcome to class, Dad. It is a hard class. Autumn threw its last gold ribbons over Upper East Side brownstones. Every Tuesday, Gabe took the Metro North into the city, to Havermill Capital's glass box on Lexington, and met Nora on the 17th floor. Nora showed him impact deals, an affordable housing fund in Detroit, an offshore wind project in New Jersey, a community health startup in Queens. She taught him to read balance sheets. Follow where the money sleeps at night, she said. Daytime, everyone is polite. Gabe took careful notes, attentive like an apprentice at a forge. He was not slick with words, but the poor learn to listen. On Thursdays, Tom took him and shoved an M&A binder into his hands. Numbers with muscles, short, cold words, synergies, carve out, tender offer. Tom did not hide the pinch of mockery. Who were you before you got here? He asked flat. I worked in my uncle's auto shop in Columbus, Ohio, Gabe said. Before that, delivered pizzas. Tom chuckled. Good. I like people who know how to wait on tips. On this street, the guy with the money is the guy taking the biggest tips, sometimes a whole company. So 2 worlds pulled him. Nora planted, Tom pruned. Gabe stood in the middle and watched the dirt fall. At night, back at Havermill, he often found Lucas in the library. Lucas moved through the tall stacks like someone stepping across old paving stones. They drank warm beers, talked Cold War, NBA, The river horns. Lucas lent him the House of Morgan and joked, "Welcome to the tribe of legal thieves." Gabe laughed his first easy laugh here. "Do you believe he is your father?" Lucas asked, straight as a fishing line. Gabe hesitated. Mom said he knew for a long time, but he disappeared. She never badmouthed him. Some nights, she just stared at a blank TV. I thought I should buy her a house, just a quiet one. Then she died. Lucas set down his can. "I am sorry." "It is okay," Gabe said softly. "I came to see the life she did not get." Sometimes Maddie drifted in, sat on the rug, and sketched Gabe's hands scarred with diagonal nicks from cutting gaskets. She did not say much, but every look carried the same question. "Who are you really?" One night, with Raymond in bed early, Lucas coaxed Gabe up the spiral stairs to the attic. Cold wrapped their knees. They flicked a string of bulbs. Yellow light shivered. "Old junk lives up here," Lucas said, nodding at wooden crates stamped HP Harrington Properties. "I am hunting for a 1920s yard bulletin. Could be cool." Gabe helped haul down a small chest. One corner had been pried. Someone had tried it before. Inside, under a moldy stack of ledgers, lay a brittle manila envelope, tied with a black cord. In the corner, D. Mora 2010 North Star Scholarship Fund. Gabe froze. "You okay?" Lucas asked. Gabe nodded. "Open it." Inside, remittance slips from a Havermill-run charity North Star Foundation to a Diana Mora. Purpose support for housing and scholarships for under-resourced student. A letter from Raymond. "Diana, I know I was wrong. I do not know how to fix it. This fund is for my son when he is ready." Lucas and Gabe looked up together. "If he was sending money in 2010, Lucas began. "Then he knew and meant to bring me in long ago," Gabe finished. "Why now?" Lucas asked. Gabe studied the timbered roof. "Because his time's almost up." The answer hung on the rafters like dusted webs. 6. Fire smoldering under tile. News of the youngest son could not stay inside Havermill. A week later, page 6 snickered. Raymond Harrington, 78, welcomes surprise son, 20-something. Family brunch must be spicy. Neighbor ladies whispered at yoga. Bankers texted Tom. A finance reporter named Marcy called Nora, polite but relentless. Tom called someone else, Vincent Rook, private investigator. Rook had worked a few deals for Tom, pulling documents out of shadowed corners, finding stains on white jackets. "We are just verifying," Tom said, "eyes on Park Avenue. Not dirty, just glossy." Rook nodded. "Full name, age, birthplace, mother. I will need the basics." Tom passed the sheet. "And do not leave anything on my doorstep." A week later, a dark smear crept into Havermill. Only family would notice the petty things. Someone rummaged a living room drawer. The greenhouse heater quit. The wine cellar door cracked open at midnight. Eunice saw a figure in the hall at 3 a.m. Big frame, hard shoes, not staff. She crossed her arms to pray. Rich houses always carry sins. Sin walks at night. One evening, the library smoked. Burned smell spiraled from a file cabinet near the hearth. Lucas came in time, with an extinguisher. When the haze cleared, Vega inventoried. A bundle of trust papers was gone. Raymond stared into the hollow and exhaled. "Someone wants me senile before I am dead." "Or wants us insane," Nora said. Vega's jaw tightened. "I have got soft backups in Delaware. But this is a message." Tom strode in. Fire caught in his eyes. "Where's the kid Gabriel?" "In the garage," Lucas said. "With me. Don't accuse without cause." "The cause is smoking," Tom pointed. "Or it is someone you hired," Nora snapped. Tom spun. "You implying what?" "Rook," Nora said plain. "You always hire men like that." The room hummed like a plucked string. Raymond tapped his cane on oak. "Enough?" He turned to Gabe, who had been standing in the doorway, cheeks gray from hauling another extinguisher. "Son," he said slowly, "I am sorry I brought you into a bleeding house, but I believe if those forgiven are still under the roof, this house can still heal." Gabe met his eyes. I did not come for the house. I came for my mom. But if fixing the house lets her rest, I will fix it. A reply like a stone sinking into a riverbed. 3 days after the smoke, Vega scheduled DNA testing. Raymond booked a private lab on the Upper West Side. The whole family went, except Maddie off at an art camp. Gabe swabbed. Raymond swabbed. Tom stood with arms folded, entertained like a man who knows the trick behind a magic act. Nora watched through the glass with the anxious eyes of a daughter, seeing her old father enter a new tunnel. Official results would take days. But that night, Raymond had a minor stroke. He was admitted to Mount Sinai, a private room over Central Park. Raj stood by the bed, listening to the rhythm and speaking to Nora in the soft code doctors and families share. He will probably pull through, but each one takes a little. Raymond woke at dawn. He asked for Lucas. Kid, he breathed, you are the man of this winter for this family. Lucas smiled without daring tears. I am just a dumb undergrad. A man is someone who knows to apologize and knows to remember, Raymond said, squeezing his hand. I forgot to remember too long. In the waiting room, Tom and Nora sat across from each other, each holding coffee like a charm. If it is a match, Nora asked, voice worn smooth. Then our father has a youngest son, Tom said. If it is not, then our father is old and has been used. Either way, the axis has shifted. Don't say, used, Nora said. That is how you dodge your own fault when you are no longer the center of the universe. Tom smirked. And you think everything can be fixed with dinner and a couple TED Talks about fairness? Fairness is the only thing that saves us from ourselves, Nora said. They looked across the park where yellow leaves swirled around bronze feet. Dogwalkers had no idea a dynasty had just cracked another line. While Raymond lay in the hospital, Havermill fell strangely quiet. Eunice smiled less. The gardener clipped dead roses a beat slower. Lucas and Gabe reorganized the library, filing to Vega's index. At night they dropped into the wine cellar's stone walls, damp, lights a tired gold, Bordeaux asleep like fish. At the end stood a green-painted steel door, 3-ring combo lock. Lucas said he would never noticed. Gabe ran his fingers and found new brush marks around the hinges. I played down here as a kid, Lucas whispered. This was not here. Gabe shifted into mechanic mode. He counted scratches on the dials, guessed the often used numbers. 037912. Try meaningful combos, he said. Granddad's birthday. Lucas grinned. Granddad was 11 per 12 1919. Great-granddad. They tried a few dead ends. Lucas looked at the little dragon carved into the handle. Grandma loved the UH-1. Huey did relief work back when the tail number of the one she flew, 312. He spun, 312. Click. Inside, a steel cabinet, a mini shredder, 2 drawers. In the top, chest X raised Raymond's heart with a white stent. In the bottom, a sheaf of stray stock certificates, Havermill shares from the 1980s under the name Mora Holdings, LLC. Lucas looked up. Mora. Your mom's name. Gabe touched the paper like he might bruise a butterfly. Mora Holdings. Founded. 1986. Lucas read. Address, Santa Fe, New Mexico. They sat, cross-legged amid oak and stone dust, reading like kids with a treasure map. Years ago, Raymond had shifted a slice of equity into an entity bearing Diana's name, not huge, but a hidden arm. Why? How? Who knew? Maybe he has been building toward this for years, Lucas whispered. And maybe someone wants it gone. Someone already tried to burn the library. Gabe nodded, heart thudding against the cellar. We need Vega to see this. On the third afternoon, Vega called the family to Havermill's office. Tom arrived first, in pale blue shirt and gray silk tie, his treaty war outfit. Nora and Raj came after. Lucas and Gabe sat together. Maddie, back from camp, hair flecked with color. Vega placed an envelope on the table and slid out 2 pages. DNA results. Probability of father-son relationship between Raymond and Gabriel is 99.97%. Some breathed. Some did not. Tom smiled. No one could tell if it tasted sweet or sour. Nora's hand found Raj's arm. Lucas's eyes sparkled at Gabe. Maddie let out a breath like a pencil, finally finding the line. Vega continued. There is more. The boys showed me, Mora Holdings, LLC. I checked. It is valid and active. The beneficial owner is a trust called North Star Continuum Trust. Primary beneficiary, Gabriel Mora and, interestingly, Anya Kapoor, Lucas Harrington and Madeline Harrington at smaller percentages. The room dropped a few heartbeats. Nora straightened, eyes wide. Tom looked at his children. What the hell is he doing? Tom asked, hoarse. Slicing us to trap us. Vega folded her arms. I think years ago, Mr. Harrington built a moral insurance net. A stack of layered trusts. If one layer is attacked, another protects. He also put Mora, Gabriel's mother's name, on an LLC to shield it from the Harrington label. He planned for the boy. And for the grandkids. And me? Tom asked, trying to smile with no muscles left. You are a named heir under the will, with a large portion of plain assets, Vega said. But everything ties back into that solidarity clause. Any major move needs agreement from at least 2 children. Tom sank into leather and closed his eyes. The smile fell off, leaving the face of a man who'd driven too fast and found a cliff. Gabe did not look at Tom. He looked at Nora. Madam, he said gently, I am not here to take anything. I only want a spot where my mother can rest. Nora smiled, a little unsteady. You already have a spot, and it is crowded in a good way. Raymond came home that weekend on Raj's advice. Better he hears the walls he knows. He lay in a solid oak bed, looking over the apple trees. The old tree freckled red like Maddie's paint dabs. He called Tom first. The door shut. They talked a long time. Sunlight crawling from one window square to another. Tom emerged last, eyes red, lips tight. He went straight outside, stood on the lawn, and looked at the river. It had been a long time since Tom stood still. Raymond called Nora. They held hands. He told her he was proud of the deals she chose, and how she treated money like a current always moving but steerable. Don't let the street tell you kindness is weakness, he said. He called Lucas, then Maddie, then Anya. Finally, he asked for Gabe. Gabe sat and listened to the wind in the curtains. Son, Raymond began, I owe you a story I never got to tell. He told him about Santa Fe, summer '99, where a conference on art conservation took him. He met Diana Mora, nights at a hotel, days in a free art class at a community center. I was not a good man, Raymond said. I had a wife, children, a stamped life. I thought my heart had room for a second beauty. I was wrong. I left like the bad men in films. In 2010, watching my grandsons run in the yard, I could not bear the thought of a child somewhere not running. I built a fund, an LLC, asked Vega. I did not dare knock. Mom said she never resented you, Gabe said. She just watched a blank TV. Raymond smiled, tired. That is how decent people punish cowards. He squeezed Gabe's hand-cold fingers. I did not bring you here to rob anyone. I brought you here to repay. I owe you, your mother, and the people I taught my son to measure by profit. Gabe bowed his head. I will fix it if there is time. No one fixes a river, Raymond said, closing his eyes. But you can pull out rocks that, damn it. That talk felt like a warm handful of ash placed in Gabe's palm. He stepped outside and looked at the river, suddenly realizing he would always seen it as a black line and never as something that moved. Tom met Rook at a midtown bar. He sat in a dim corner and dropped a fat envelope on the table. I am paying you, Tom said. Stop. Rook leaned back, grin tilted. You sure? I found something juicy. The boy's mother, Diana, has a brother tangled in a gambling case. We can blow it up. Tom stared at the envelope. He knew the smell under cologne, the damp, papery sweat of cash. Tonight he was tired of it. I said stop, Tom repeated. And if you sniff around Havermill again, I will go to the cops. Not because you are dirty, because I want to be clean. Rook shrugged. Your call. I can't help it if rumors do not come from me. Rumors will hang the men who hang them, Tom said, standing. For the first time in years, he left a bar without looking in the mirror. He drove back to Havermill, parked on the lawn, and studied the silhouettes in the windows. Nora showing Anya how to make a pie, Lucas and Gabe arguing NBA, Maddie hunched over a drawing. He went in and fastened a crooked smile. Gabe, Tom said, you are coming with me tomorrow. There is a failing shop in Scranton. We can save it. Or kill it. I want to see what you pick. Gabe looked at him. In their eyes, a small ice chunk dropped into water and melted. Let us go, Gabe said. A small company making industrial sewing machine parts. 30 workers. Oil smell and the chime of pins. Tom walked the line with hands in pockets, listening the way a doctor listens to a sick chest. He pulled the owner 55, weathered into an office and opened a spreadsheet. Here's where you bleed. Here's where a broker's skimming. Cut these 2 contracts. You live. If not, we buy, sell the land, strip the machines. Gabe leaned against the wall, watching oil-stained hands knotting together. He thought of his uncle in Columbus. Winter nights under a car with a flashlight, black stars of oil on concrete. When the men finished a partial deal, Tom turned to Gabe. What do you think? I think, Gabe said, we can front money from Nora's impact fund, structure it as a convertible. In exchange, they keep the jobs and get lean ops training. We take a low coupon, but bank reputational and portfolio data. Tom arched a brow. You are speaking my sister's tongue. I am speaking money with a conscience, Gabe said without blinking. Tom laughed for real this time. Fine. Tomorrow we call Nora. They ate roast beef sandwiches at a roadside diner. Tom wiped his hands and asked suddenly, do you hate me? Gabe chewed, swallowed a sip of water. At first. But Lucas says hate is how you keep someone living rent-free in your head. I do not want you there. Tom coughed a laugh. That kid he quotes like a philosopher. Okay. Kick me out. He watched trucks barrel under the gray sky. You know, I set out to prove you were not my brother. Today I caught myself hoping you are. I do not need proof from you, Gabe said. Just do not kill that shop. Tom nodded, as if hearing an old song. Late November, the family circled the Havermill table. Raymond was weaker, but insisted on the head chair. Eunice set a turkey on a silver platter, steam rising like a blessing. Maddie arranged wild daisies with red maple leaves. Anya brought out her apple pie with the confidence of a real baker. Vega came rare. She sat in a corner smiling, eyes scanning like a sentry. Rook did not appear. Social media still hissed, but the family learned to read and fold gossip like a dirty newspaper. Raymond stood with his palms on the table. I have thanks to give, he said, voice thin but clear. Thanks to those who stayed, to those who came, to those who left without them we would never learn to return. He breathed. I have arranged things. After I go, Havermill's board will hold the majority independently. Tom and Nora are honorary co-chairs. The Mora Trust will fund apprenticeships in Ohio, New Mexico, and New York. Lucas, you will run the industrial history program. Maddie, the community arts grants. Anya, supervise preventative medicine scholarships with Raj. Gabe, you hold the cellar key. If anyone tries to burn the library again, you spot the smoke first. Laughter warmed the room. Gabe blushed. Tom raised his glass. To what DNA can't measure. Crystal chimed like a tiny bell choir. Raymond died in early December, the first snow falling light as salt. He went at daybreak. A slice of cold sun across his blanket. Eunice folded his hands. Nora bent to the bed and sobbed. Tom stood straight, eyes forward, a soldier's farewell. The service was at the stone church by the river. Men in black suits, women in long coats, white flowers like breath. People told stories the way you talk about an old tree. A storm had taken a limb, but the shade still kept passers-by dry. Afterward, Vega gave each of them an envelope. From Mr. Harrington. Gabe opened his on a bench by the river. A handwritten letter in a hard, even script. Son, if you are reading this, I am likely gone. I wanted to say this while alive, but there are things men only say when they can't be seen. You owe no one in this house. I owe you. But you do not get to run from them either. If you are rock, they will break. If you are water, they will learn to swim. I was rock too long. Don't trust the big things that build a reputation. Trust the small things that build dinner. When you choose to save or kill a company, remember the smell of oil on the hands in front of you. Choose such that you still want to shake his hand. If not, do not do it. And if one day you want to leave Havermill, I will be glad. You do not have to live my life. Live one that, if you sit watching a blank TV like your mother, you do not regret. Your father. R. Gabe folded the letter and slid it into his inside pocket. He stared at the Hudson, the water frosted with haze-like glass that had just exhaled. Footsteps came up behind him. Lucas sat. He told me to keep the cellar key, Gabe said, smiling. And I got the library key, Lucas said. We will partner up. Prevent fires. Partner, Gabe repeated. Sounds like something the street hates. They hate anything that does not charge fees, Lucas shrugged. They sat, two boys the same age, backs to a stone bench, watching a river that had outlasted other men and other lives, carrying and returning as it pleased. January cut bright and sharp. Havermill announced the North Star Apprenticeships, a trades program for young people skipping college, partnering with the Scranton shop and 3 others. Tom and Nora did a joint profile in a finance magazine. The Harrington siblings learned to steer. Tom said little, but in the photos he smiled for real. Nora faced the camera without flinching, like she was saying, "We are not ashamed." Gabe shuttled between office and shop floors. He learned to say no to offers too pretty, and yes to ones that dirtied his shoes. Each signature, he reread Raymond's letter. He kept a scan on his phone, never far. In Columbus, he stopped by his uncle's garage. The old man hugged him. "Kid," he said, "your ma would be happy." "Yeah," Gabe said, "I think so." 3 months later, a hedge fund tried to raid Havermill under the banner of post-founder opacity. They quietly built a stake. Vega caught wind and flagged Tom and Nora. The siblings shut themselves in for 6 hours. When they opened the door, Tom called Gabe. "You speak a language I hate," Tom half-joked. "But I need you today. They want us to dump the impact funds. Underperforming, they say." "What do you want?" Gabe asked. Tom tossed a bundle. I want to keep them, but I need iron arguments." Gabe scanned numbers and charts. "We answer with data, retention, dropout drops, juvenile crime dips, second-order returns across the portfolio. Then we say this: if they kill what makes Havermill different, they kill brand equity. Long-term value sinks." Tom nodded, then laid a hand on Gabe's shoulder. "Want to run North Star as program director? Don't panic. Not CFO. Real work." Gabe blinked, then smiled. "I will take it if I still have to wash my own shirts." "Wash away," Tom said. "They will be filthy from now on." They stepped onto the balcony over Lexington, where yellow cabs swarmed like ants with baguettes. Nora joined them with coffees. "We won a skirmish." "Plenty more. Ants build bridges too." "Chasms make bridges," Tom rumbled. "Right," Nora said. "As long as we do not shove each other first." Another fall rolled in. Havermill hosted a community day along the Hudson. Kids tore over the lawn. Adults sipped hot cider. Maddie hung a mini exhibit in the library. Drawings of workers' hands, Eunice's hands, her own. Lucas curated a corner of shipyard archives. Anya ran a free blood pressure station. Gabe stood on the steps, sleeves rolled. An older woman with short silver hair and coal dark eyes walked up. "Are you Gabriel?" she asked, voice carrying a desert lilt. "Yes," Gabe said, heart-tripping. "You do not know me," she said. "I am Marisol, an old friend of your mother's, Diana's. I wanted to see the place you call home." Gabe smiled, throat tight. "Come in." They passed the hallway, the founder's portrait, the stairs Raymond had climbed all his life. In the library the fire burned low, just enough. Marisol's eyes glistened. "Diana would have loved this room," she whispered. She loved books, but only had a few. Borrowed too long. I know, Gabe said. She liked to sit and watch a blank TV. They laughed and cried together. Lucas slipped over with tissues. Maddie brought water. Nora stood in the doorway and only nodded, as if bowing to a past that had come in through the back door. Outside, the Hudson lay quiet. Wind blew from the far bank. A tug hauled a timber barge past, slow, steady, unshowy. Some nights after guests left, the family crowded the big kitchen, eating delivery pizza instead of silver plate dinners. Tom told Scranton stories. Nora talked about a nurse in Queens, using a scholarship to study community management. Lucas read a letter from a former yard worker who had learned to read at 50. Maddie showed a new sketch. Anya described her oldest patient that day, 98, and still jogging. Gabe listened, laughed, answered. He found himself busy in a different way, not with 15-minute calls, but with people. He learned to say, I do not know without shame, and I am sorry not to surrender but to grow. Sometimes he opened Raymond's letter. He would read, Don't trust the big things that build a reputation. Trust the small things that build dinner. He would fold it and slide it into the drawer by the oven. The Harrington assets, equity, houses, trusts, oil portraits were still there. But the real estate, maybe, lived in minutes spent at the same table with no knives under the napkins. In Tom texting Nora, Need you in this meeting. In Nora replying, On my way. In Lucas and Maddie arguing over who would do the dishes. In Anya pulling out a chair for old Marisol. In Gabe closing the cellar door, spinning 312, and hearing that soothing click. One quiet night, Gabe stepped onto the front porch and stared at the black ribbon of river. He remembered the first night he arrived, Raymond saying, From tonight, this is your home. He thought, Home is not what someone declares. Home is where other people stay, too. A breeze moved. Somewhere in the library, the founder's portrait kept its chilly gaze. But somewhere else, a painting not yet made of a kid with a scuffed backpack standing at the door of a big house, no longer scared of his own shadow. Maybe that was the real inheritance an old man left behind, the courage to open a door and, when needed, to close it kindly. The end.